When I was younger, I was fortunate enough to meet and train under some of the true legends of Wing Chun. And the good news is that I don't think there's a single common physical characteristic that I could attribute to them all. Each of them were different. But what I can say is that none of them you would classify as natural athletes or anything else that you traditionally might think you need to be good at martial arts. So how do they get to be as good as they are? Well, I guess you could call that the bad news. The single characteristic that they all had in common was mostly up here, and that is a ruthless dedication to their training. I'm talking about years upon years of continually working on every aspect of their Wing Chun until they achieve that truly effortless power that we all aspire to. So that's why I call it the bad news, because to get good at Wing Chun requires that dedication and endless practice. It cuts both ways. You don't have to be a natural athlete, but you don't also get to be naturally gifted at Wing Chun. Anybody can be good at it, but you just have to dedicate yourself ruthlessly towards it, which most people aren't prepared to do. So I say to all my students, no better time to start than right now. So even from early on, you should practice as much as you can. So I'd like to run through some ideas about how people can train on their own at home. So, how do you get started in your Wing Chun training? Well, firstly, I would say you can't train enough. I understand some people can only get to class once a week. Life's like that, we all have jobs and other things. But if you were to do any other activity, if you were to start a fitness program and you decided, I'm going to start going to the gym, if you only went once a week, how long do you think it's going to take before you see any measurable impact in your fitness level? If you went to kindergarten just once a week when you were a little kid, you'd still be at kindergarten when you became a teenager. It's just going to take so much longer if you limit yourself like that. So, try and not confine your training, even at the early stages, just to what you do in class. I can always tell the students who only train when they come to class, because it's very, very quickly it becomes apparent to me. They're the ones who spend the whole class looking around, trying to remember what it was they did in the previous week instead of progressing in this week. So you're holding yourself back there. Now, even if you can get to class just once a week, you should try and train as often as you can at home. Ideally, I'm going to say every day. That's really a matter of your personal discipline. If you can make even 15 minutes a day, I promise you're going to start to see dividends. So, week 1, what would I start with? Siu Tao. Beginning, if you can just learn the sequence. So again, when you practice the form, you're not spending all your time trying to see, what comes next. You actually have just the basic sequence in mind. Now, obviously, that's just the beginning point. I'd refer you to the video on Siu Tao that I put there with all the pointers about the hands, etc. But firstly, week 1, try, or as quickly as possible, learn the sequence of Siu Tao. This is like your basic alphabet. All the structures that we're going to use in Wing Chun are contained here. And as I can tell you, all of the masters, Sifu Derek, for example, he has been practicing it every single day without fail, at least once a day, for well over 60 years now. And you can tell he has. The power, his skill, as he always says, comes from Siu Tao. So cannot underestimate that, cannot emphasize that enough. Get your Siu Tao down as soon as possible. Just the sequence, then we can start working on the rest when you come to class. So, after week 1, learning the sequence in Siu Tao, keep practicing it. Then, once the sequence comes to you, you can start being aware more about what you're doing. Position of your hands, the center line, thinking about what's going inside. Just beginning to think of the idea of focusing on the center so that in time we can start to cultivate that forward intention, right? Very often I see students practicing, concentrating on the hands or perhaps how their legs are, and the rest of their mind is kind of wandering around, looking around the class, thinking what's for dinner. This is not how you practice Seulum Tao. If you're going to do it right. Don't waste your time. Focus on every aspect of your body. Hand position, center line, alignment of the spine, but also up here in your mind, being aware of whether you're holding tension in your body, are you focused forward. So if you're going to do the form, make sure that you're mentally present and focused. Get the most out of your training. And this applies to all your Wing Chun training. So, again, as I said, effortless power, we're all aiming there, but you're going to have to spend a lot of hours to get there. So make sure every minute that you spend training is a worthwhile minute. Be mentally present, focus on what you're doing, and get the most out of it. So, after the first week and you've memorized the sequence of Seulum Tao, what else can you do training at home? I'm assuming that you have no one to train with at home. If you, by chance, are training with your brother or your partner, you're both going to class, excellent. Then, of course, you can always find activities to do together. But if you're by yourself, it doesn't mean that you can't train. As I said, learn the sequence of Seulum Tao, then try and practice it correctly, refer to the video and get some pointers on position and structure. Then, from let's say week 2 onwards, think to yourself if there are any particular hands that you're not certain of or feel that you'd benefit from more practice in. Let's just say Bong Sao, or perhaps Tan Sao, or even Wu, whichever hand. So in the form, after you've done the form, go back to those hands and do an additional, start off modestly, an additional 10, build up from there, perhaps start then doing the following week up to 50, and the week after that build it up to 100, and then in time to come, work up to, if there is a hand that you're not happy with and you think needs work, then work at it. Build up to a 500 a day, 1,000 a day. Now these might seem like very daunting figures, but this is how you overcome and improve your skill. And I have done this myself in hands that I'm not happy with. So, for example, let's just say, so you start off doing your Tan Sao and you think, oh, I'm not really sure. Take your time in the first or second week, look at it, think about the alignment, relaxing here, out to there, and then relax, and then do it again. Make sure that you're relaxed, focusing on the center, check your position, and then do it again. The beauty of training in your own time is that your partner's not going to get bored. It's really about you and your discipline. So again, as I said, mental focus, get the most out of it. Think about what you're doing, and then do it. That's the only way to get good. In Wing Chun, that's what we do. Focus and train. Focus and train. So, keep working on a hand again and again. Another example is at the end of Seulum Tao, the punching. Punching is, of course, so important. The name of our style, after all, is Wing Chun Kun, Wing Chun Fist. We are a fighting style. If your punches lacks power and precision, then really, what are we doing? So, don't be limited. By convention, we do 10 punches at the end of Seulum Tao, but by week 2 or week 3, you can start to build on that. Nothing to stop you from building up to 20, then up to 30, then 50, then, as I said, up to 100, 500, 1,000. Can't do too many of them. But, again, doing them properly. So it's not about speed. It's not about trying to do something like that. No. It's about correctly positioning and replacing the hand. Replacing the hand on the center, and the back hand, the hand coming back, equally important. And to make sure that you're not doing like so, but driving straight out along the center line. Also ensuring that as you do your punching, particularly at the end of the form when you might be a little bit tired, that you're not starting to sway your hips or move your shoulders as you do it. You may find it useful in this aspect to train in front of a mirror, or if you don't have a mirror, it can be any reflective surface. You can see your reflection in a glass window or anything else like that. If you don't have a mirror, window or a reflective surface, that doesn't matter as well. If you really concentrate, you should be aware, have enough self-awareness to just feel, I think I'm rocking in my hips as I do this. So, That's also beneficial for you to gain that level of self-awareness about your body and structure, that you can detect these sorts of things. So this is week 2 or 3, and you're building up and working on specific hands, high number of repetitions. So after about 3 or 4 weeks of working on your stance, Sulim Tao, specific hands that you feel you need to work more on, working on your punching every day, building up the number that you can do with a good stance and structure, then we need to start thinking also about how you can retain mobility and not get into the idea that you have to be rooted and stuck in a stationary position like this. Remember, we want to be able to move and kick in Wing Chun as freely as we like. Now, of course, all of these, I should mention the timing and techniques that I've suggested, totally up to you. You work to your own pace, so long as you are training regularly to the best of your ability and with good mental focus each time, then really it's up to you. The pace that you progress, the exercises and the order that you do them. These are just merely suggestions. Now, so as I was saying, mere suggestion, week 3 or 4, you start thinking about incorporating mobility. So, the best thing that I suggest people do is Tai Sat, the introduction to the kicking, simply knees up. So, you bring your knees up to the center like so, and if you have trouble balancing, you can perhaps hold on to your hips, but either that, you have your hands in Man Sao, in the guard, and just stay here. Now, remembering that the leg is, the thigh is parallel with the ground, the knee is on the center, and you just stay here just for a little while to begin with, the first few weeks that you do this, and then you can put your leg down, then straight away up with the other leg, like so. And here like this, and then you can put it down. Now, as the weeks go by, you can build up more and more regularly. Make sure that Tai Sat is done properly as we practice in the class. It is not so much lifting from the knee, remember, it is from this joint here, tailbone tucked in, raise up like so. This is where the power is going to come from. Okay? Keeping your spine straight like this, not bending or anything else like that. Then like so. Build up so that you can balance more and more and spend more time like this. Tai Sat being the introduction to the kicking. From here, we will be able to keep our balance to perform our kicks later on. And you can, if you like, you can practice with a bit of speed, going up, going up, going up. Entirely up to you how you train this. But build up to it slowly, work on your balance, focus on bringing your leg up towards the kicking knee, towards the center, by keeping your tailbone tucked in and your spine straight, like so. So these are some quick pointers about exercises that you should work on right from the beginning. Train as much as you can, remember, as I said, as much as you can, and you'll see the benefit in your training in years to come.